Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Leroy Bennett. I'm from Sagamore-Anishinaabe. Can you imagine in 1850 the ceremonies, our spiritual insights that our ancestors have had, and to the changes that we would be having to make, having to do, but more importantly, having to keep, and that is our spirituality. So since 1850, we've gone through considerable changes. And since that point, I know in the modern day news, we talk about the 215, we talk about genocide, we talk about all of these other negative events. But when we look at, since 2017, the beginning of this court case, Litigation Management Committee, Restoule versus Canada, we were looking at the resources and the relationship, but more importantly, how our ceremonies have helped through the entire court proceedings. So without saying too much of all the ceremonies and everything that was there, I would like to kind of summarize it, I guess, in a way that it shows that our way of life is still alive. So in many ways, our ancestors will give us things when we're out in the bush, we're back on the land, when we're able to look at how life is from a spiritual perspective. And that would come by way of this. It was around 2018. Things were really tough, really tough for us. For everybody in the court proceedings, our people, everything that's happening. So I'll begin this way. Most of it started after ceremony. We had a set. And that particular night, I started to dream. And in that dream, I was walking along this path. It was an interesting path. And I was walking closer, but there was a huge ravine in front of me, like huge. And as I was walking closer, I seen a dark object, fairly big dark object. And it was blocking a path, but there was no path to see. But that's where this particular path that I've seen ended. And in time, I interpret that as fear, doubt, insecurities, things that we as human beings face. But there was also a secondary meaning as well. It was about how sometimes people interfere with our spiritual path. And this can easily be said through residential school, day school, 60 Scoop, how they interfered with our spiritual path. But back to the dream. So when I came up to the edge of this cliff, I was looking down, and down below was nothing but jagged rocks. Because if I walked off, for sure I would be dead. But even in my dream, I had a little bit of tobacco, and I started to pray, and I asked the Creator, and I asked the ancestors to help me. If I was to go from this point to that point over there, what do I need? What do I have to have in order to make this next move? So I put my tobacco down, and it was like I was compelled to take a step off of that edge. And when I did, I had doubt, I had fear. But when I stepped, there began a wooden step stop me from falling. So with a sigh of relief, I decided to take another step. I took another one. So 4 steps into it, I had a solid foundation. But still, there was more. As there was nothing in front of me, it still required more faith. It still required more doubt. And I took another step. And sure enough, there was another board to support me. So as time went on, another step. I was halfway across, building this big divide. So can you imagine, as I looked to my left, all I seen was a darkness, an absolute darkness. And then when I looked down, all I saw was jagged rocks. And when I looked to my right, I saw beautiful mountains. I saw clean water. I saw so much beauty, it was unreal. But when I looked back to my left, it was the exact opposite. It was just darkness. It was ugly. But going on this journey through the court system helped me realize we need more faith. We need more spirituality. So each step that I took, it took a little bit more, and it took a little bit more to finally get to the other side. But I didn't do it with, how can I say, I didn't do it on my own. I did it with the prayers of the people, the help of the people. Because sometimes when we're feeling low, that's when we need the most support. So as time goes on, we took another step, and I took another step, and I took another step. Before this point, and I started to look back, and I look back on this bridge that was being built on faith, not the construction or the hands of man, but with the help of the Creator and our ancestors. I began to realize that strength was evolving, that the momentum that we needed for our people was here. And that is through the court case, that we have that voice, and we're able to now understand that we can create these bridges to help us get to where we want to be as a people, but as a nation. And I gave thanks when I woke up to understand that being human requires faith, but there's some doubt, there's a little bit of fear. But that's all part of being that human being. So as we move forward with this, we cannot build things with violence. We cannot build things with deception. We cannot build things with lies and all these other things, these negative things of life. But as we move forward, a little bit more faith, a little bit more faith. It's not asking much, but it does require much to do it. So fast forwarding here today to 2021, again, we are looking at how this relationship and the spirituality that's involved still needs to continue on. And part of that is to maintain our ceremonies. Part of it also is to learn faith. Part of it is also to continue on what our ancestors gave us way back then and still continue to give to us today. And that's to remember those teachings, to remember who you are as an Anishinaabe, but you're now of the Robinson-Huron Treaty. And I think as we move forward and down the road into the next future generations, as long as we maintain this, the strength and the faith will be there, and we will, again, continue to move forward. That, I'll say me, Butch.